I'm going to just call out some professions, and I'm not calling anybody by name, but typically when we think of accountants, engineers, IT professionals, people who really like behind the scenes, yet they know that to be effective, they've got to be better communicators. I need to be able to lead an effective team meeting. I need to be able to share my story to a group of people. Maybe it's a sales call and a sales presentation, or maybe it's a networking group. If I am networking for business, so I'm doing outreach, I'm meeting new people, I'm standing in front of a group, what I say to myself and how I talk to about myself is so important.
The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.
Hello, West Michigan. This is Grand Tap Media Business TV. My name is Pamela Keim, your host. The spirit of the show is to introduce West Michigan to all the businesses, nonprofits, individuals that can help us thrive in our lives. And we have a wonderful guest today. We've known each other for years, and I just discovered she was in Toastmasters, but she was able to leave her corporate world and start a speaking business, which she helps businesses, nonprofits, individuals thrive in there to do better presentations, to do better Zoom meetings, to do better in networking. She is an author. One of them is Find Your Voice, and we're going to be delving in deep into the 5 steps to become a better communicator. So I am so happy to have her back on my show to talk about how I can even become a better communicator. So I want to welcome to the show for today's guest is Leslie Fiorenzo. Thank you very much for being here, Leslie.
It's my pleasure, Pamela. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, I am so glad you're back. And I know that when you were on my show, it was during we always just say the 2020. So we were at social distancing. We had a big mic between each other.
Yeah.
So now we're just going to sit down and have a conversation, because if I were sitting next to you at a table,
sure,
and I realized your business, you know, being part of Toastmasters, I would be like, you would be sick of talking to me after. But I am so excited to have people here that are better communicators, because I know that is the key to getting in the doors, your presentation, finishing the deal, the words you're using. And people, what we're dealing with today is the Zoom calls, the Zoom conferences, the interviews. Mm-hmm. And I think when people are good communicators, they're almost like, people are like, they have a perception of you as, well, then you must be really good at other things, because look how well you communicate. True?
I believe that's absolutely true. Yes.
All right, let's delve right into it.
Okay.
All right, so you were in the corporate world.
I was.
All right, so what made you look at the world in which we live in today and say, you know what, I'm seeing this over and over again, I'm sure you were, and that you want to start your business?
Well, part of the reason I wanted to do this is because I literally want something that I can do for as long as I'm alive, as long as I'm able to be productive and make an impact, and I have breath in me to speak with people. I've noticed, however, and I'm sure you have too, you mentioned Zoom. Zoom fatigue is a reality, but the fact that we are so connected with our devices, and you have probably been in restaurants, or you've seen younger groups of people, I'm talking middle schoolers or high schoolers, standing in a group, but yet they're on their device. They're not looking at each other. They're not having a conversation with each other. It's all through text. How does that even work? I'm puzzled. You're on a date with somebody, yet you're looking at your phone? How do you get to know somebody?
Couples too.
Oh yeah, I see it. We have a no phone rule at our house, at our dinner table especially, or if we go out to eat. Because again, it's so easy, and we are so conditioned, and that device is designed to make it addictive. So it's hard to put down.
Yes, and you probably see, when I will share with you too, when I'm in those lobbies or the waiting to get my table, when you and I were here, you would make conversation with people that were sitting next to you, across from you, small talk. You were dealing with that, and I do not see that
No, not
today.
anymore.
Like we know.
Well, it was called the 5-foot rule, and you just engaged in conversation with anybody that came in within 5 feet of you. You just never know where that can lead. But it doesn't, you're right, it doesn't happen today.
Yeah, and I think that they can't deal with share a little bit about that. You see that too, as people are the uncomfortable, and then learning little cues of how other people are communicating and how they're drawing people in.
Yeah.
They're not learning that.
No. Well, what I've also noticed is the eye contact piece. Now, when I was a kid, if I didn't look my dad in the eye, and I know this is a cultural thing, so it's not true across every culture, but I needed to look my dad in the eye when he was talking to me. And my daughter lives near I won't name the college, but she lives near a college campus, and we walk her dogs through the beautiful path. 90% of those kids will not look up at you and say hello. And we're talking, young people, 17, 18, 19, what are college freshmen, college sophomores? They're,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your business. Now, you saw, what exactly is your business?
Business Speaking Solutions is designed to help people who want to be, as you said, better communicators. They have a story they need to share. They're great one-to-one, but put them in front of a group of 6, 10, 40, 500, and that gets them nervous and they fail miserably. And but when I say fail miserably, chances are they just won't do it. They're not going to come to the table, so to speak. They'll find every excuse in the book. One of my very first clients was a franchise owner for a business, and the franchisor, he was so successful in running his franchise, and they kept saying, come speak at the conference. He was letting a story from middle school hold him back because he was up doing a book report. You remember middle school book reports?
Yes.
Well, the kids laughed at him. And I don't even think they were laughing at him. And he said that. He goes, they probably weren't laughing at me. It was Anyway, that stuck with him and prevented him from sharing his message so that other franchisors could learn. Now, we work together, and I'm so happy to say he did it because he reframed the story he was telling himself and was willing to be uncomfortable. We got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, stepping out, trying new things. If it doesn't work the first time, oh well, we try again. That to me is the beauty of Toastmasters, because I'm sharing my message with a group of supportive people. Are they going to give me feedback? Absolutely. Are they going to be what I might consider critical? But that is the learning process, and I can take that and grow with it.
So when he came to you, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so how important you think it was because you're doing it's kind of the coaching.
Yeah, it is. It's a coaching.
You're sitting, how does that look like? What does that look like?
So I work with individuals,
right?
But I also work with groups. So my 5 steps to speaking success, so I took my course that's designed for groups that maybe struggle a bit, and I'm going to just call out some professions, and I'm not calling anybody by name, but typically when we think of accountants, engineers, IT professionals, people who really like behind the scenes, yet they know that to be effective, they've got to be better communicators. I need to be able to lead an effective team meeting. I need to be able to share my story to a group of people. Maybe it's a sales call and a sales presentation, or maybe it's a networking group. If I am networking for business, so I'm doing outreach, I'm meeting new people, I'm standing in front of a group, what I say to myself and how I talk to about myself is so important. And most people introduce themselves as, hey, I'm so-and-so, and I own XYZ firm. Okay, great, but nobody cares. Tell me a startling statistic, tell me a fact. Start with a hook. Start with something that's intriguing. So 70% of the population, Pamela, is scared to death to stand in front of a group. Probably scared to death to be on an interview with you too, because they know it's going to go out to the world. Now, this is a little more comfortable because it's just you and I and the cameras, but if I stand up at a networking event of 10, 15, 20, the last chamber meeting you went to, networking chamber event, Grand Rapids Chamber, I'm going to pick on in particular because their lunches, you're at a table of 10 people. Mm-hmm. You have to share what you do in a way that makes people say, Pamela, tell me more. I know somebody who could use what you do, or maybe I could, or I might make a connection. But if you're ABC accounting firm, okay, I don't need an accountant. And I don't know if anybody else does. But if you tell me that so many people got dinged by the IRS, or so many people paid too much money, or so many people don't track their expenses and it costs them in this way, or whatever startling statistic you have about your business, oh, really? I want to know more. So I want to have a conversation with you after. No one goes to a networking event expecting to buy something. So don't go expecting to sell. Go expecting to make connections and see if you can further the conversation outside of the meeting.
Yeah, and I would totally agree with you on that one, Leslie. That was a very good point. I'm part of, I've been part of the Granville Jenison Chamber. That's our Toastmasters Club is there. It's an open club for anybody that wants to join. Come and check it out. But I will tell you, I met people at events, and I didn't buy right away, but they stuck to, at keeping in contact with me, talking to me when I was at an event, and eventually I did go with the financial planner person after 2 years, right? And I did go with the web person because I got to know them, and all of a sudden, when I was ready to do it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I know Nick, I know, Andrew.
Sure.
I'm just going to give them a call.
Yeah.
But most people go in, and if they don't think you're interested, they don't know how do you bring it? You know what I'm saying? Stay that connection.
Yes, it's about it's know, like, and trust. And the only way to know somebody, you mentioned showing up, but having a meeting outside the meeting. So I continually see this person at chamber events, or I continually see them, and I know that, ooh, they're going to show up and they're going to keep their word. I just want to go off on a tangent a little bit, but I want to save people some money because I see this happen all the time. They bring their beautiful catalog with them and give it to everybody, or their 8x10 glossy, or whatever it is. But it's an expensive piece of print material. If I don't have a need for what you do, I'm not going to tell you no, but I'm either going to leave it on the table or I'm going to take it home and recycle it.
Right.
But if you and I can have a conversation, if I can learn more about you, if you tell me promotional materials, right? I think this is accurate. The biggest piece that gets the most touches is a pen. I learned that from my promotional products person because I said, hey, what's going to give me the most bang for my buck, right?
A pen?
A pen. Because think about how many rotations a pen will have. Now, will somebody buy because they have that pen in their hand? Probably not. But it's a memory cue. Oh, I've seen them before. Oh, I remember meeting this person. Oh, I need to follow up with it. That's what we want to do, is create a favorable impression where people will follow up and have a conversation. And if I'm not able to have that conversation, if I don't know my business inside and out, most people do, yet have I practiced? Have I really thought about it? What's important? Those kinds of things people take for granted, and they don't do the hard work behind them, my opinion.
Now you're saying having something else to, like a hook on that one. Give me another, because I do go to events and I try to make small talk, right?
Yeah.
For everybody and get them engaged, whatever. Give us a second tip on that follow up, because what I get is when I connect to people on LinkedIn, LinkedIn, right? I get an instant sales pitch.
Oh yeah.
And everyone who does that, I don't even read it.
No.
I don't read it. I'm like, I met you at an event, whatever, we connected, and I get a sales pitch, and I know it comes automatic. So what can you tell me as somebody that would like to, not that I want to buy right away, but I see you as a resource.
And that's what you want to present yourself as a resource. Here's what I can do for you, or here's how I can help you. So hook. So let's use Toastmasters as a really good example, because I know you're the area PR
I'm
person.
the PR.
Yeah, PR. Okay. So 70% of the population is scared to death to speak to a group. At Toastmasters, how would you solve that problem?
How would I solve that?
Yeah.
problem?
What if you were going to tell me about Toastmasters? How does Toastmasters? So it's an opportunity to get up in front of the group every week. Like what else?
Yep. Opportunity to get up to create skills to deal with the uncomfortableness, and eventually, if you continue to get up at the lectern and do, even if you just get up there and do, you know, certain things, right? Introduce yourself. Eventually, you build the skills to cope with that fear. That fear sometimes never goes away, because I make speeches and I still feel fearful. But I've learned over years of being in Toastmasters that I've built coping skills.
Yes.
To be able to cope. It'd be different than what you would do, right? Because you are more trained as a. But
Well,
to me, slow down, take a deep breath. I've done that, and know that when you get up there, that fear does subside, but it's still there. That's how I would say, is just practicing, and practicing.
The tagline I remember from Toastmasters when I was a member was, it helps the butterflies fly in formation, because we all get the butterflies in our stomach. So 70% of the population, then we have this turning fear into, or helping us face our fears. And why do I want to join your particular group? You mentioned it's an open group. You don't have to belong necessarily to the Granville Jennison Chamber.
No, you don't have to.
Yeah. So we're open to all members, and we would love to have you. It's about, hook, problem, solution, and then what makes you unique. Maybe if you can fit in a customer testimonial. So we just had a member, you could say somebody just came and was so impressed, or they did something because and so what's your call to action? Come visit us next, when does your group meet?
Monday.
Next Monday.
Yeah, come just check it out.
Just check it out. That's all
You know
we wanna
what?
do.
There's no, you can come to visit for free, and you get, some people have come 2 or 3 times, and they've checked out all the other clubs, because each club has a different kind of, culture, right? Some are really professional, and some are, at attorney's office, and some are just like us. We are a variety of people, business owners, and then people like that. And I said, just try it, and then you see it. But it's really it's very inexpensive for the training. But then I realized, I've been in it for a long time, if I really want to scale it, right, get a little bit better, I would have to have somebody look at my presentations. So, okay, so let me say, I give Leslie a call, and I'm like, look, I did this speech at Toastmasters, this presentation, and some people come there and do their presentations for work.
Sure.
And where am I, am I bringing it back around to make the sale, right? We all want to close.
Yes.
We want to connect to some buyer,
Yeah.
whatever. Am I bringing the best product, presentation out there for our products? Did you add humor?
Yes.
Did you connect with your audience? Does that make sense? So
It does.
Would I practice? How does that work working with Leslie?
So my 5 steps to speaking success, and STEPS is an acrostic, a mnemonic, an acronym, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But it talks about summoning your inner champion, because we all have a critical voice in our head that thinks it's doing us a favor, but we need to retrain it. And then we need to tackle obstacles early, because we can run into obstacles. You mentioned a few as we were chatting before. We've all had things. So think about what the potential risk is and what might happen, and how can I deal with that before it does. Energize and engage your audience. Gee, I hope this speaker's boring. Said no one ever.
Never.
Right? People come, even a team meeting, they look at you. If you're a leader of a group and you've got to lead a meeting every Tuesday morning of your team, how can you make that engaging? We get so scripted, and most run by an agenda, but what can I do to leave them? Because you want your employees to leave energized.
Correct.
You want your audience, no matter where it is. Then it's about priming your presence. So before I show up, what am I doing in the 5 to 10 minutes beforehand to make sure I am spot on and I'm connected? We were chatting before the cameras rolled about this idea that we think we can multitask.
Right.
1% of the population can multitask. The rest of us can switch tasks, but we're going to miss something. So how do I prepare myself to be my best self before I stand up in that group? And then what are the stories? Share stories that stick. Because data is great, but stories sell. Facts tell, but stories sell. So that's what we want to remember, is what story do I want to leave my group with? What story mostly engages? What's my call to action around that story? Because again, that's where you want to end your speech presentation, meeting, or your 60-second.
Yeah, you want to leave people wanting more.
Exactly.
And then we get in Toastmasters, and I'm sure you do too, is where's your hands? How are you communicating? Are you, I always tell people, are you putting people at ease?
Yes.
Like when you get up there, are you so comfortable that I can look at you and it be ease? Nothing is so hard to watch somebody just so struggling. And you're just, it's almost like a kid learning to walk, teeter. You're just like, okay, you can do it.
Well, that's what makes Toastmasters or working with a coach so beneficial, because I'm not going to try that out in front of a live audience and have them laugh at me or feel like I made a big boo-boo, or the boss's boss is in the room and now I've made this huge faux pas. I don't want that. So I need a safe place where I can come and get good feedback and get good advice.
All right, now and then one thing too I was going to ask you about, do you work with people that, and I think this is vital, is people that are going into the interview process.
Oh, yes.
People that want promotion, and maybe they're sitting in front of the three leaders of the organization, and you want up. How important is it that, you're training to help them? Look, you want opportunity? People are going to be watching. You only have, like you said, 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes to give them a good impression.
Exactly.
And how maybe if you didn't do well in the beginning of it, you could snag it back up.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It does, it does. So you're right. We never get a second chance to make a first impression, and it's really about 7 seconds that I've made a judgment call about whether or not I'm going to like you, or I want to know more about you. And can we recover from that? Yes, with practice and skill. And it takes some, again, being uncomfortable for a little bit, but that practice to me is what makes it, and trying things out. Because again, I don't want to try that out in front of the board of directors. I want to have some options. I want to have thought this through and know exactly where I'm going.
Yeah, no, I would have to agree. Okay, so all right. So I think that's very important, like I said, the interview process, because so many people want different positions in their lives, and they're like, why can't I nail this? Why can't I get this job, right? And I've met so many people that are marketing, and I'm shocked they're in marketing because they can't communicate, right? On that one, and I will have to tell you that. All right, so anything, let's get back to you. So back to your company.
Oh,
so
sure.
What did we miss here that you'd like to share with the audience about what you can do for them?
Well, I have a couple of things on my website. I have a free download that they can take advantage of. So if they go to businessspeakingsolutions.com, that's my website. It's also under my first and last name. That's my email address. And then I have a free tip sheet. So no cost to have a call, have a conversation. I would love to have these conversations with people, have a question, want a resource, need to be pointed in a particular direction. That's the other thing that I'd like to do.
Well, and I totally agree with that. And I just think that communication is vital. And now that everybody else is pretty weak at it, if you can get this down, you will be amazed at the opportunities and that will come your way, because I don't know, 80% of the population is totally failing at it. Like, you understand that, right?
I do. Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about one more thing before we can wrap this up. All right, I deal with this. Other people are dealing with this. Give us some tips, a Leslie tip on how to deal with people that you're doing a presentation, you're doing a speech. You've worked so hard on this, even a Zoom call, and people are either not there because they got pictures up, right? They're distracted on their phone, and you might take that as you're doing a poor job.
Oh, so the most important conversation you can have is the conversation between your ears, that with yourself. And you know your stuff, so don't let those people get in your head. It's them, not you. So know that maybe what I'm saying is not landing with them. It doesn't matter. It will land with someone in your audience. There's someone there that needs to hear what you have to say. Deliver to that person, even if you can't see them. Even if they're looking at their phone and you think they're distracted, they may or may not be. So avoid telling yourself a story about their behavior, because you honestly don't know. So stand up, deliver what you are going to deliver, or if it's on a Zoom call, you're probably seated, but just deliver what you planned and have a plan for follow-up. So you have a call to action, but how can you follow up with those people in the room, if it makes sense? and get your message to them.
So that self-talk, that we all deal with.
Oh, yeah.
And then and you treat your clients. That's is that? I mean, I always tell I'm learning to tell myself, is that true? Is that true?
Yeah.
Did I really totally fail? Maybe I didn't deliver everything I wanted to and we get that.
But nobody knows.
Right.
No one knows because I've had clients beat themselves up. Oh, no one knew what you were going to say before you did. Okay, I missed that point. All right, so what? There's a next time. There'll be another opportunity. I truly believe people got what they needed to hear from you. It was what was appropriate, what they needed, and then you come back. Next time, I get another opportunity.
That's nice to hear. I need to hear that too, even though here I am on my show, and as soon as you walked in, I said, I'm going to hit up Leslie for some of the stuff that I'm dealing with on a regular basis.
Yes.
Being on that one. All right, give us, I want one more thing from you. Can you give us a tip on how Leslie prepares a speech? What is that? If I had to make a speech on your business at the chamber, what would be the first thing you would do?
So I'm going to start with my opening, start with my hook.
Okay.
And I'm going to start with my call to action. Where's my end? And then I'm going to fill in the middle. Because people will remember how you start and how you end. And if you mess up in the middle, not so much. They won't necessarily remember that. So any presentation, any 60-second intro, what's the interesting fact or piece of data or statistic or question? You might start with a question. Hey, did you know that most Americans are terrified? Did you know, Pamela, that most Americans, if they're asked to give a eulogy, rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy?
Yes, I do know that.
Yeah.
I do know that only because I'm in Toastmasters, but I do know that people say no when they can make an anniversary speech, a wedding speech. They don't even get up and talk about their family member because they're terrified of getting up there and saying a few words for someone they love.
I know. Yeah.
Isn't it awful?
It is. Well, people are judgy. And the other fear. So we're born with two fears: falling and loud noises.
Okay.
Everything else is learned. So our fear of public speaking is learned behavior. And it might come back to the fact that when we were in small tribes roaming this planet thousands of years ago, the enemy was a warring tribe or a wild animal, and their eyes were peering out at us from behind the bushes. So the eyes of our audience, our brain says, whoa, that's dangerous. Now we know today it's not, and that's the thing. We know we can retrain our brains, neuroplasticity, you're probably familiar with that term. So that's not my expertise, but I know enough about it that you can change the language and change what your brain believes by repeating giving it positive information.
Exactly.
And making the positive be stickier. Negative situations are stickier because it's about safety, but we don't face those same safety concerns that we did thousands and thousands of years ago. So when I think about positive moments, hey, I did this well, I did this good, and I am amazing. Give yourself a high five in the mirror every morning. That's not my original idea. It's Mel Robbins. She wrote a book called The High Five Habit. Love it.
Yeah, right.
Love her work.
Yeah, I do
anyway,
too.
Think about the positive and those being intentional about the language you use and what you say to yourself, and it will make a big difference.
So how can people meet you and talk to you on the phone, Leslie, and learn about your business and how you can help them become a better communicator?
Yeah, so they can find me on my website, as I mentioned, businessspeakingsolutions.com. They can look me up on LinkedIn. They can put my name in LinkedIn, and I would just love to have a conversation.
All right, so how can I get your books?
Amazon.
Amazon?
Or let me talk about Find Your Voice. This one happens, I have a few copies at a local coffee shop here in the area called The Stray on South Division. Now, admittedly, right now, Division is torn up north of 44th Street, but you can still get there.
All right. We want to thank Leslie for being here today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
All right, this is Pamela Keim from Grand Tap Media. We will catch you next time. Take care, everyone.